Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
Thoroughly disappointed in the game. It was not acceptable. It was not good enough. It wasn't good enough from a coaching standpoint. It wasn't good enough from a playing standpoint. And we've got a lot of getting better to do, and we got a short time to do it. And so, you know, we need to get some guys healthy, but we've got to play better than we did today in all areas.
It's Dennis Allen. Saints lose to the Bucs 51-27. Say that again. 51-27. I mean, all kinds of history made in that one. You know, Sunday wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the 51 points of bricks that broke the camel's back. For all intents and purposes, the Saints season ended on Sunday. And I don't mean to be dramatic. That's not the point here. Just think of it from a mathematical standpoint. You're 2-4. You're 1-2 in the division. So you're behind on the tiebreakers already. If it would take, let's say, 10 wins, 10-7 to win the division, you were 9-8 last year and lost tiebreakers. So I'm just using recent history to say it stands to reason 10 would be a spot you'd have to land. You would have to go 8-3 the rest of the way. I don't know that with what the Saints have ahead, anyone can realistically project this team 8-3 over their next 11. It doesn't matter how healthy you get. And by the way, the report on Monday was that Spencer Rattler is going to play 3 or 4 games for the Saints. That included the Tampa game. So he'll play this week against Denver, and then very likely your next time out as well, potentially 2 more times out. We'll get there. And I'm not upset that the Saints lost. I didn't anticipate the Saints were going to win this game for all the reasons that we talked about. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback making his first start. You're on your 4th starting center in as many weeks. You went from Eric McCoy to Shane Lemieux to Lucas Patrick to Connor McGovern. 4 weeks, 4 starting centers. That's brutal. I mean, starting a rookie quarterback, even with an offensive line intact, is a massive ask. And then you put him there, and then there's no Taysom Hill, and then Chris Olave gets hurt in the first quarter. There's no Pete Werner. There's no Will Harris. Tyrann Mathieu got injured during the game. It's not that you lost, but it's how you lost that is unacceptable. I mean, coming off the loss on Monday Night Football to Kansas City, you're 2-3. It's a divisional opponent in your building. Your season feels like it's on the brink. You can't drop to 2-4. You can't lose another divisional game for the tiebreaker purposes we talked about. You have got to go out on your home field and give an incredible effort to try to win a game. And you give up 51 points? They got a 50 burger on you. 277 rush yards? That's the most rushing yardage allowed under Dennis Allen. The 4th highest total in franchise history, by the way. 15 missed tackles? That's the most of the season. Right now, the New Orleans Saints are 32nd in the NFL in total defense. Anybody know how many teams there are in the NFL? Muse? Paulie? Guys? Anybody?
32.
Are you sure? Paulie, can you check his math?
I can confirm 32.
There's 32 teams in the NFL. So if you're 32nd in the NFL in total defense, that means you're dead last. By the way, defense was supposed to be your calling card, man. I'm the one who sat here despite my disapproval of Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, who I've told you consistently, Dennis Allen is objectively a good defensive coach. He has proven that over his career, that he is he's just not a good head coach. He's a good defensive coach. Well, now the one thing he's good at is a liability. And you are literally the worst defense in the NFL right now. And listen, you can say all you want about injuries, and I don't want to hear that today. You had Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Brian Brzee, Carl Granderson, Willie Gay, Chase Young, Marshawn Lattimore, Alante Taylor, Paulson Adebo. You had all those guys playing on Sunday. Maybe you don't hold them out of the end zone. By the way, you lost the game to Atlanta where you didn't allow a defensive touchdown. Or an offensive touchdown, excuse me. But you had all those guys available and playing for you. And you gave up 51 points, 594 yards, the most you've allowed to Tampa ever, 277 rush yards. It was an embarrassment. An absolute teetotal embarrassment. Capital E _ bold font. And you're supposed to be a defensive team with a defensive-minded head coach. It's the National Football League. This wasn't the Army Black Knights with their triple option offense going against Kent State. This was the Bucs against the New Orleans Saints. These are professional football players that allowed 277 on the ground, 594 total, and 51 points. Friggin' embarrassment. Oh, I'm sorry. Tampa did get a defensive score. Your defense allowed 594, 277 on the ground, and 44 points, as if somehow that makes it better. I mean, I put out on Twitter, has there ever been an NFL team to get a punt return for a touchdown, 3 interceptions, and lose by 3 scores? Someone did reply, by the way. There was a Crimealytics stat that said the 1950 Colts were the first team to score at least 27 points with 3 takeaways and lose. That doesn't even include the punt return for a touchdown, which might make the Saints the only team ever to have a punt return for a touchdown, 3 interceptions, score 27 points, and lose. Not just lose, but lose by 3 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, it's quite believable, actually. That's why Dennis Allen has got to go. Yeah, I started by saying it's the 51 points of bricks that broke the camel's back. A lot of people are asking, do you fire Dennis Allen today? And the answer is no, you're not going to fire him today. You got a short week. I mean, you play in 3 days at home against the Broncos. So you're not going to fire him today. Do you fire him midseason? I don't know. This is a franchise that hasn't had a history of doing that. The last time the Saints fired their coach midseason and had an interim was Jim Mora back in 1996, and Rick Venturi finished the season. Then you hired Mike Ditka. I mean, you didn't fire Ditka midseason. You didn't fire Jim Hazelate midseason. I don't know that's something that they're going to do. And I don't know what Gail Benson would do in that respect. It's totally unprecedented. So I don't know if she's going to fire him midseason or let him coach out the string. But you might get to that point. I mean, I could argue that if you fire Dennis Allen, if you're going to fire your coach midseason, I think you do it for one of 2 reasons. Either you're trying to salvage something and you feel like it could inject some life into your team, or it's an opportunity for a dress rehearsal for the next guy. Like, look at Antonio Pierce with the Raiders last year. Was the interim, they made him the permanent coach. Now, I don't think Clint Kubiak or Joe Woods or somebody like that is getting the job full time, but it is an opportunity, could be potentially, for Kubiak to audition for a head coach, or for Joe Woods to audition as a defensive coordinator, considering, yes, he's the DC in title, but this is Dennis Allen calls the defense. It's his defense. So that's all possibilities. But I'll say this. If you lose ugly to Denver on Thursday, that may be the opportunity to do it. Because you're not going to fire the coach on a short week like this. But when you play on a Thursday night, it's kind of a mini bye, right? I mean, you have 10 days between games. So in theory, if you lose on Thursday to Denver, which I think you're going to, and that game is right at a pick, by the way, but if you lose, you fall to 2-5, and if you lose to your former coach and it's an embarrassing fashion again, then yeah, I mean, I think it's totally plausible that you would make the change then. I don't know if they will, but I wouldn't fault them. That would feel like the right timing to do it if you were going to do it. Or maybe you play out the string and then you make the change at the end of the season. But at this point, it's inevitable that Dennis Allen is going to be done. You're going to miss the playoffs again. It'll be the 4th consecutive year that you've missed the playoffs. And you continue to just regress in every way. And the crazy thing, and our guy Ross Jackson over at LouisianaSports.net has a great column about this if you want to go read it. But it's an oddity that the defense is the thing that likely is going to cost Dennis Allen his job, because this is the thing that has been his strongest pillar for so long. The logic for retaining Dennis Allen, it's now the thing that has gone so awry that you can't help but look and say, man, this is your thing. If this isn't happening, then how can you justify it? You know, for all the people that have talked about how they finished the last 2 years. In 2022, they won 3 of their last 4. Last year, they won 4 of their last 5. But those teams and those 7 wins, their opponent's winning percentage was 42.9%. Basically, you beat a bunch of bad teams. You had a win over one of those last 2 seasons where you finished winning 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 5. Of all the teams, of those 7 wins, one team had a winning record. It was Philly when they were 13-3 in 2022. But remember, you didn't play Jalen Hurts. You played Gardner Minshew. That's the only win against a team with a winning record. There's just no justification for Dennis Allen anymore. He is what he is. He's a bad head coach. He's always been a bad head coach. And now he's not even a good defensive coordinator. There is no justification for keeping him another week, another season, any longer. It's over. Like, they've pulled the plug. It's just a matter of when time runs out. Like, at this point, it's an inevitability. Dennis Allen won't be the coach next year. It's just a matter of will he be the coach next week or in 2 weeks or after the bye or whenever that's going to come. And maybe that's the only real reason left for intrigue in this season. Watching Spencer Rattler to see if maybe you hit on the young quarterback there to see if he could be your guy for the future. And when do they cut ties with Dennis Allen? Do you have an interim situation? Those are the only 2 things really that have any intrigue left in this season, because the opportunity of making the playoffs, that went out the window Sunday with a gigantic thud to the tune of an historic 51-27 loss in your home field to your division rival. Ugh, gross. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.